Now joining me on the Peerless Boilers Hotline, Peerless Builds, America's Best Boilers, the play-by-play voice of the New York Rangers on MSG, and that is the great Sam Rosen. Sam, Zach Gelb here, DARPATV.com in New York. Thank you for joining me, and how are you?
I'm great, Zach. I'm excited about tonight's game upcoming between the Rangers and the Caps, and just can't wait for them to drop the puck and get going.
No doubt about it. Puck drops tonight at 7:30 in Washington. The series tied up at 1-1. And as you know, the Rangers and the Knicks share the same building at MSG. Everyone's cognizant of what happened to Amari Stoudemire. He punched that fire extinguisher out of frustration after losing to the Miami Heat in Miami. Let's just say if a New York Rangers player was to do that after the Game 2 loss in Madison Square Garden, how do you think John Tortorella would react to that? I'm just going to guess he wouldn't be a little bit happy.
I would think probably everyone would grab their heads and say, what? I don't think anyone would believe that it would happen in the Rangers locker room. To tell you the truth, and this is not to say anything about the Knicks because I'm not around their locker room. I can't say what goes on there. But I know this about the Rangers locker room, and they're pretty together. It's a group that really is close-knit. They hang together on the road, at home. This is a group that has been kind of nursed along together all season long, and they've created a good bond and a good foundation. So I would be shocked, and I'm sure anyone else would be, if anything like that occurred within the Rangers.
So I guess the Rangers don't punch fire extinguishers, but they do throw those Gatorade jugs.
Well, they do get upset about certain things. You saw the Gatorade jug, but I was told, now this is what I was told, that for the most part, that Gatorade jug was close to being empty. So, though it looked like Brandon Dubinsky had this superhuman strength lifting up the Gatorade jug, it was pretty much on empty.
Sam, you covered this team for a while. You were there in 1994 when they won the Cup. We've heard your call. This one will last a lifetime. There's a lot of comparisons being made between this Rangers team and that 94 team. Being a man that covered both teams, do you kind of get that feel with this current New York Rangers team?
You know, I don't, Zach, and I'll tell you why. It's tough to compare teams, but that 1994 team, that team was built around star players who were established stars in the National Hockey League. You're talking about Mark Messier, who came to the Rangers as a 5-time Stanley Cup champion. They traded for Glenn Anderson. He had won 5 Stanley Cups. You talk about the players that were already there, and Mike Richter, who had established himself as a great goaltender in the league and had his best year ever with 42 wins. Brian Leetch, who was a Norris Trophy winner in 1992, one of the top defensemen in the National Hockey League and a future Hall of Famer. Adam Graves, who was in the middle of a great Rangers career of 10 seasons, which earned him retirement of his jersey. So it was built around a star quality team, a team with great experience and great leadership. And that team won the President's Trophy and was expected to win. I mean, people expected the Rangers to make a long run, and they felt the Rangers should be in the final and should win. I think when you look at this Rangers team this year, I think it overachieved a bit in the regular season. No one expected this team to come close to winning the President's Trophy, and they came within 2 points. They were number 1 seed in the East. No one expected that. But once they got hold of first place in December, they played very, very well, played tough playoff-style hockey, and held on to that number 1 seed in the East. So this is a team going into the playoffs, I think, that people look at as a team that could win. They have the makings of a team that could win. things will have to break right for them. They'll have to stay as healthy as possible, keep their top players strong and healthy, get great goaltending from Henrik Lundqvist, which he's given them, and see how things fall as far as who their opponents are. So I look at this team as a team that's a good team, that's capable of winning. That 94 team, they were a favorite to win, and they played up to that expectation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think they are capable of winning, but also you look at the NHL this year, there's just so many good teams. You look at the Detroit Red Wings, and you usually think Detroit, they'll be a 1 seed. They were a 5 seed this year with 102 points, and you also look at the Rangers. They just came off a series where it went 7 games with the 8th seed. You know, that doesn't happen too much in the NHL, but over the last few years, it has been.
It's the big P word, as you know, Zach, and that's parity in sports, and that's what we have in the National Hockey League. You look at the teams in the league this year, and you couldn't point to one and say, here's a clear-cut favorite. You mentioned Detroit. Detroit, a very good team, but yes, they dropped to the number 5 seed, and they lose to an up-and-coming Nashville team that now is behind to a Phoenix team that has surprised a lot of people by winning their division. First time that's ever happened for that franchise. They win the division, and now they're up 2-0 in their conference semifinal series. So any team in the league, you look at number 1 in the West, got knocked off by number 8 with the LA Kings, and the LA Kings are up 2-0 going home to LA against the St. Louis Blues. So it's wide open. It's any team that you look at can win. That Ottawa team, yeah, I wouldn't say that was a team that could win the Stanley Cup, but there was no doubt that they were capable of giving any team they faced in the first round trouble, and they gave the Rangers trouble. And the Rangers had to come through with 2 big wins in games 6 and 7. So it's a wide open format right now. It's wide open in both conferences. You look at the Rangers. Let's say they get through Washington. Well, they could face either Philadelphia or New Jersey. New Jersey has been tough on them this year. The Rangers dominated the Flyers in the regular season. You go over to the other side, as we just mentioned, LA Kings, the number 8 seed, they've got a chance to knock off number 1 and number 2 as they're up 2-0 on St. Louis. And then in the other series, the Phoenix Coyotes could surprise and wind up in the conference final if they take advantage of Nashville. Nashville going home has suspended a couple of players. So you've got a wide open field as they head for the next step, the league semifinals, the conference finals. Anybody could take it.
We're talking to Sam Rosen, and Sam, you mentioned one of those teams being the St. Louis Blues. Your longtime partner, JD, is out there in St. Louis. Have you got a chance to talk to him during these Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yes, I have, and they certainly were thrilled by the way they played in the first round against San Jose. They lost the first game of that series and then won the next 4. They made a tough decision early in the season, in the regular season, when they fired Davis Payne, a good young coach, up and coming, had done a nice job there, but they were 6 and 7, and they were so afraid of falling behind in a very tough Western Conference. They made the decision to go with a veteran coach. Doug Armstrong, the general manager, certainly had a lot of connection and a strong connection with Ken Hitchcock. They made that decision to bring in Ken Hitchcock. He did a marvelous job, and that team played great hockey, similar to the Rangers. They played low-scoring, playoff-type hockey, physical games, got great goaltending from 2 goaltenders, Yaroslav Halak and Brian Elliott. So that was a team that also was built and geared toward the playoffs by playing a playoff style all season long. Had the great first round. Now there's a little nervousness going on because the Blues had been one of the best teams on home ice all season long, and to lose 2 straight to the Kings on home ice, they're pretty nervous right now heading out to L.A.
Rangers dropped a tough one in Game 2, and you look at Game 2, a very encouraging sign to me was the play of Michael Del Zotto. Yes, he didn't get a goal, but he had a nice sniper that deflected off Ryan Callahan on that power play goal, and he hit the post not only once, but he hit it twice. It's very encouraging what MDZ's doing.
Yeah, a good bounce back year for him. In his rookie year, he came to the Rangers and showed good skating ability. He was in excellent shape. Really did a nice job with his offensive skills. They tried to teach him the game defensively. I think the second year was one of those years where he got a little swept up in New York City lifestyle and living things, and a youngster under 21 years of age making a lot of money, living in Manhattan. I think it got the best of him, and he wasn't in the best of shape, and I think he lost his focus. He got injured. It was a real downer for him. But he worked very hard in the off season, came into to training camp in great shape, and has had an excellent season. Has played very well. I think, to me, what's noticeable is that he's stronger. He's stronger on the puck. He's stronger on the one-on-one battles, both in front of the net and along the boards, and that is really shown all season long. He's got good awareness on the ice offensively, can carry the puck. I like when he shoots the puck. I think it adds something to the Rangers offensively. Look, you know, Zach, in watching hockey, that defenses are geared to shut down those top players. They want to shut down Marian Gaborik. They're looking to control Brad Richards. When the defensive players can add some offense, come late on the rush, get into a shooting lane and shoot a hard, get the shots from the point on goal, it adds offensive threat. And that's something you need, because it's really tough to score with the way teams block shots and get in the shooting lanes, and the goalies are outstanding. So it's great to see Delzato shooting the puck. He came close. He needs to keep on shooting to continue that offensive threat from the back line for the Rangers.
The Rangers have a lot of youngsters, as we just talked about Michael Delzato, but this kid, Chris Kreider, has been a complete and utter stud. Went right from the Frozen Four, won a championship with BC, then goes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, gets 2 big goals. What impresses you most with the BC product in Chris Kreider?
I would say, Zach, his overall poise. This is a very tough situation to be thrust into. I think ideally, when the Rangers signed him, they were hoping, well, you know what, he'll be around the team, and maybe if there's a spot, maybe if they're up in the series, we can drop him into a game, get him some playing experience. But you know what? The situation dictated that they had to put him right in the lineup. When the suspension occurred to Carl Hagelin, they needed a forward on there with speed, because Hagelin brings so much speed to the lineup, and so does Chris Kreider. And he was put in, and in game 1, he played about 11 minutes and didn't embarrass himself, didn't do anything tremendously noticeable. He just wanted to fit in, and he played that first game with Richards and Gaborik. He was the left wing. Second game, John Tortorella cut him back a little bit. He was concerned about defensive responsibilities, knew it would be a low-scoring game. He didn't play much. He played on the fourth line. Third game, again, injury to Brian Boyle. Now it's dictated that he's got to play some more. Kreider gets more minutes, contributes, scores, and suddenly, he gains in confidence. And the more he plays, the more he feels as if he belongs. He said to me, we were sitting in the locker room on an off day, and I said, so, what was your feeling on the ice? He said, you know what, when I first got on the ice, I looked around, I said, boy, these guys are pretty big. He said, and then he said, the more he played, he said he realized, hey, you know what? I'm pretty big too.
He's 6'3".
So he's 6'3" and 230 pounds. So, and what I noticed when guys hit him, if he goes down to one knee, he gets right up. He doesn't lose the puck. He stays with it. He's got the good strength, and he's got good hockey sense. He knows where to go. He knows where his line mates are going to be. He uses them. He knows where he has to be to get into scoring position. He's good around the net, and he's shown a good shot already in this series. So this is a terrific pick by the Rangers in 2009, who was developed very nicely, matured nicely, and he's bringing that maturity and poise to a difficult situation in the playoffs and performing very well.
Zach Gelb here on DARPATV.com talking to Sam Rosen, the play-by-play voice of the New York Rangers on the Peerless Boilers hotline. And Sam, Dubinsky made the trip. He didn't skate this morning. When is the earliest we could see him back? And when he does come back, who do you think's going to get the scratch out of the lineup?
Well, it's hard to say, depending on when he gets back on the ice. It's going to take a couple of days because he's been off the ice just to get into good skating shape. I'm sure he's doing all the other off-ice physical regimens, conditioning regimens to stay in decent shape, but getting on the ice and skating is another story, and that's something he'll have to do. He'll have to make sure he's got the strength in the leg or the ankle, whatever the injury is that they tell us, lower body injury. But I think it'll be a few days, and it might be, we'll see. As far as looking ahead towards Saturday, they have a couple of days off after this game tonight, Thursday, Friday off, Saturday afternoon game. We'll see if Dubinsky can skate before then, but I would think it would take a couple of practices for him. Maybe a practice on Friday, game Saturday afternoon, that would be questionable. Maybe a practice on Sunday. So hopefully, if this series, the longer this goes, he can have the chance to get back into the series. Now, the question of who sits out, that's a tough one. John Tortorella would have to make a call on who he feels, number one, is not playing that well, couldn't get back in the lineup and replace. My guess, and this is just a personal guess, is John Mitchell might be the guy that he could replace, because he could then put Dubinsky in as a fourth-line center if he wanted to, winger if he wanted to, with Anisimov on that line. He could do a couple of things. So I would think that John Mitchell, who's not an overly productive offensive player, but a versatile player who can do a little forechecking, can take some face-offs, so can Dubinsky. So my guess would be if Dubinsky is able to come back later on in this series, that he would go in and John Mitchell would come out.
When I was talking to your buddy and your partner, Joe Micheletti, last week when the return of the talks was of when is Brian Boyle going to come back, I suggested actually that Mitchell should get scratched when they brought back Boyle. But your partner did say, Micheletti, that Tortorella and Mitchell really have a close bond.
John Tortorella likes John Mitchell just for the reasons that I mentioned before. Likes his versatility, feels he can play physical, get in on the forecheck on that fourth line, not play a whole lot, have to play a whole lot of minutes, and yet still, contribute and play a role in a limited amount of playing time. But again, I go back, I look at the situation. Knowing John Tortorella, when you bring somebody back from injury, I don't think he wants to throw Dubinsky in and look to play him 16, 17, 18 minutes. It would be more of that limited playing time and then see how he's doing. And if he's doing well, play him a little more. As we saw with Brian Boyle in Game 2, he did play 15 minutes, but Brian Boyle wasn't happy with his game. And watching Brian, he didn't look to have the same flow to his game and all the parts of his game that we saw when he was going strong in the Ottawa series up until the big hit from Chris Neal. So my guess is, I'm sticking to what I said before, I think it would be Dubinsky in and Mitchell out, because you're not going to take Mike Rupp out. You like his experience and his size and his forechecking ability. Anisimov is not given them as much as they want. I think John Tortorella wants a lot more from Artem Anisimov, but I think he gives you more than Mitchell. He's got size. He can play along the wall. He's got offensive skills. He can take face-offs. He can kill penalties. So I think he would stay in. And then you're not going to take out the youngsters because of the great speed. And Kreider is fit in. He's now one of your top 6 forwards. Hagelin is one of your top 6. And they bring speed, and that speed backs defenses off. It makes them concerned. They have to play them honestly. It creates a lot of open space in the offense. So that's why I think they stay in, and the guy to come out would be John Mitchell. Not that he necessarily deserves to come out, but I think he would be the guy to come out once Dubinsky's ready.
Rangers Caps tonight at 7:30. Puck drops in Washington. We're talking to Sam Rosen, the play-by-play voice of those New York Rangers. Sam, a few more questions right before we let you run. Eminger, he was swapped out for Brian Boyle. Safe to say Eminger's not in the lineup tonight?
You know what? I didn't check. It could be a decision here. I think, again, John Tortorella has liked what Stu Bickle has given the Rangers as far as his size, physical play. But if you start to make mistakes, if mistakes creep into your game, and you become a liability, that could be a concern. Now, Eminger hasn't played since mid-March, so we're talking about not seeing game action for 6 weeks. Do you put Eminger in, even though he dressed him as a seventh defenseman the other day? Do you put him in and take Bickle out? I think that's a question mark for me. I think Eminger's got experience. Bickle is a little more physical, but the way the game is going, you might not need all that physical play, and he might put Eminger in just because of his experience. And Eminger plays a hard game. The question is he game ready? And I think that probably will be a game-time decision for John Tortorella.
Is Hunter going to keep on limiting Ovechkin's minutes, or do you think as the series goes on a little bit more, he's going to get some more ice time? Because, you look at this Rangers-Capitals series, I think Ovechkin's got to get on the ice more. They need more scoring to get past Lundqvist. You look at Lundqvist and Holtby. Holtby has done a good job, but Lundqvist is by far and away the better goalie, and I'm not sold on Holtby yet.
Well, I think I tend to agree with you, Zach. I think if they win, then Dale Hunter is okay with limiting Ovechkin's playing time. I think if they lose that second game, I think Dale Hunter comes in for a lot of criticism from the media in Washington, maybe even from his players. Look, let's face it, the best player on either team, the best skater at least, is Alex Ovechkin. This is a two-time MVP. This is a guy who could score from any place at any time. He is a threat. Now you're looking at Dale Hunter, who's assessing the situation and saying, you know what, I'm going to play a defensive style, low-scoring game, which means I have to limit my mistakes in the defensive zone. So he cuts back on the playing time for Ovechkin. Semin is another one that he's concerned about. But I think that if you don't score those goals, if he falls behind, Ovechkin has to play more. And if had he lost game 2, there would have been a lot of criticism. But in my mind, when you have your captain and the best player on the ice, the most talented player on the ice, you've got to give him time to play. 13 minutes was not an awful lot. I would suspect that on home ice he'll play more tonight, and depending on how the game goes, that's how much time he'll play. If they're behind, he gets more minutes. If they're ahead, maybe cuts him back and plays that defensive style.
Marian Gaborik, you look at what he did in the first game of the first series up against the Ottawa Senators, had a goal. You thought he was going to have a good playoffs, had a nice pass the other game. But other than that, in the other 7 games, he hasn't been great. What have you seen the differences of Gaborik in the regular season, where he scored 40-plus goals, to the postseason, where he's been on a scoring drought?
The 2 things come to mind here, Zach. One, and I thought when Gaborik scored in Game 1, I really thought, and I said it on the air going into Game 2, that I thought he was primed to have a real good playoff, and it really hasn't happened as far as goal scoring is concerned. Yes, he has had a couple of good passes to set up scores, but that's not what they need from Marian Gaborik. They need him to score goals and be a threat on the ice at all times, similar to Alex Ovechkin, who we were talking about moments ago. But I think right now there's a confidence issue for Marian Gaborik. When you see him pass up good scoring chances and try to make a pass for what he perceives to be as a better play or a better chance, I don't buy that. I think he needs to shoot the puck. When he gets into scoring position, just shoot it, because this guy is a great goal scorer. So I think we've got a confidence issue with Marian Gaborik that we're looking at. And then I think the other factor is, and he talked to me about this during the series with Ottawa, the defenses are playing him very, very tight. He's getting very little room to make plays and to get shots off. So as soon as he touches the puck, bang, somebody is on him right away. That's part of the game plan, the defensive game plan. It was with Ottawa, and it is with Washington. They know that if they can limit Marian Gaborik's scoring chances and scoring ability and goal scoring, that they improve their chances to win.
Sam, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. Best of luck to the Rangers tonight. Let's talk again real soon, my man.
Sounds good, Zach. A pleasure to be with you.